So we're going to go over The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. As I read, I'll help you go over the questions so we know what we're doing. Okay. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. So, what time is the poem? Midnight. So, he stayed up till midnight. He was exhausted and he stayed up reading. Um, While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door. So someone is suddenly knocking on his door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. "Only this and nothing more." So he's like, "I'm kind of tired. I hear someone knocking. Okay, I'll go get the door. I think someone's at the door." Distinctly, I remember it was in the bleak December. So it's bleak, it's dark, it's cold, it's depressing outside. And each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. So the fire's dying, and like the smoke is almost like it's ghosts, that's the fire's dying. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my books surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore. So he really wished it was tomorrow. And he said vainly, meaning it didn't work. He had sought to borrow from his books surcease of sorrow. So to cease something means to end it. So he's trying to end his sorrow by staying up late reading. Why is he like sorrowful? Why is he sad? For his lost Lenore. For the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. Meaning, like, she doesn't have a name here because she doesn't live here anymore. Like, she's dead. She's with the angels now. Hence why he's staying up late reading, trying to forget about his dead love. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So the curtains are rustling and it's freaking him out. So that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." So like it's just person at the door, it's just person at the door. Don't freak out. Presently my stroll grew stronger, like, okay, I'm feeling better. Hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, so faintly you came tapping, tapping at my chamber door, that scarce I was sure I heard you." So he's like, "You're gonna have to forgive me. I was sleeping, and you like were knocking so gently, so I wasn't really sure if someone was at the door or not. Um, so I'm sorry, it took me forever to open the door. So here I open wide the door, darkness there and nothing more." So now he's freaked out because there's nobody at the door. Like there's nobody knocking at the door. That's freaky. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing. So he's staring into the darkness, freaking out, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared before to dream before. Meaning like he's having some really like intense, creepy thoughts. Like he's freaked out and thinking of what the horrible things would be at the door knocking. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" Because remember, like that's his lost love. So it's quiet, it's bleak, it's dark, it's cold. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this and nothing more. So he opens the door, it's dead quiet, and he wonders somehow, like, is this like my love, like trying to come back to me? So he goes, "Lenore," and he hears back in the darkness, "Lenore." And, now he's scared. He's freaked out. Um, Back into the chamber turning with all my soul within me burning. So he came back inside and he's like, "Oh God, I'm freaked out." Soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. So he came back in, he hears another knock. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Like, okay, it's not at the door. I think it's at the window. Let me then what thereat is, and this mystery I implore. Like, all right, I want to go figure out what it is. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery implore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Like, okay, it's just the wind. The wind is probably at the window. It's gonna be fine. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flit and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. So like he flung open the window and like this bird kind of like flutters in and like looks all like, you know, important and like, very, very regal. Not the least uh obstinance made he, meaning like he walked in like he owned the place. Not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with the mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door. Like he walked in like he owned the place, like he's the ruler, like, I'm here. Perched upon a bust of Pallas, which is a Greek god. So the raven is sitting on top of a statue, just above my chamber door, perched and sat and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling. So beguile means to trick, or to kind of like, deceive you. So like, this bird kind of tricked him into smiling because he's like, the heck? Like it's this bird just walks in like it owns the place. Like, okay. And here's why he was also smiling. By the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Like he kind of smiled because he's like, why is this bird so serious? Like he owns the place. Like, what the heck? Like, so he says, though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, said I said, art sure no craven, meaning like you may think you're all that, but like you're like an old bird. Ghastly grim and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore, meaning like, okay, you wandered in from the night and from the ocean out there. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. So he's like, okay, you came out of like the darkness, out of like almost like hell itself. What's your name? Quoth the raven, nevermore. So the bird actually talks because ravens can actually talk. And so the raven says, nevermore. And he's like, okay. Much I marveled, this ungainly fowl, to hear discourse so plainly. So ungainly means like awkward, kind of like disheveled. So he's like, this bird that just walked in here out of nowhere just spoke to me very plainly. Though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, meaning like, I'm sure he didn't actually mean that's his name. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Like, this hasn't happened to anyone before, where like a bird just like walks in above your door and like says nevermore. Bird a beast upon the sculpted bust above his chamber door with such a name as nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour, meaning like he only said that word as if his soul depended on it. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered. So the bird was just sitting there. And he says, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Meaning like, my friends have left me, my hope has left me, like he'll probably leave me too. Then the bird said, nevermore. Like, okay, weird. Startled by the stillness broken by a reply so aptly spoken. Doubtless, said I, what it utters is only stock and store caught from some unhappy master whose unmerciful disaster followed fast and faster till his songs one burden bore. Meaning, okay, I think what's going on here is that this bird used to have like a master who was really depressed, who was very sad and had something terrible happen to him. And as this terrible thing kept happening to him, that guy kept saying nevermore, and that's probably why the bird knows the word. That's why the raven knows the word nevermore, is probably it learned it from its last master who just kept saying nevermore, nevermore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. Being like, okay, he probably learned it from his last master who was super depressed. But the raven still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, meaning like it was still kind of tricking me into smiling. Straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bustin' door. So he grabbed a chair, pulled it up, and it was like, okay, let's figure this out. Then upon the velvet sinking, so we sat down. Took myself to linking, like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out. Fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, with this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore, meant in croaking nevermore. Like, so we pulled up the chair, sat down, was like, I'm gonna figure out why this bird keeps saying nevermore. This is weird. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing. So he kept trying to think of where this bird came from, but he wasn't saying anything. To the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. So this raven is staring at him very intensely, just like this and more I sat divining with my head at ease reclining, meaning like he's got his head laid back against the chair, like, okay, think, think, think. On the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated over, meaning like the lamplight from the street came in through the window, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating over, she shall press, nevermore, meaning like, what if he's talking about Lenore? Like that she will live nevermore. Um, then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, meaning like, okay, I thought like the air was kind of thick then, and that like it's almost like I felt a presence of an angel. So swung by seraphim, a seraphim is an angel whose footfalls tinkled on the tough floor, meaning like he felt like a presence of an angel or a spirit. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath sent thee. By these angels he hath sent thee. Meaning like, okay, jerk. I think God sent you to me. Like angels sent you to me to remind me of Lenore. Respite and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Meaning, respite and nepenthe is to like forgive and forget. He's trying to just forget about his memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh, quaff this kind nepenthe and forget this lost Lenore. Like, I'm trying to forget about her, quoth the raven nevermore. So the raven's like, no, you're not going to forget about her. Like, no. So now he's getting mad because he stayed up late trying to forget about her. And now this raven has come in to remind him of his lost love. So he says, prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil. So he's like, okay, maybe you're actually evil. Maybe. Like whether tempter sent, so the great tempter is Satan. So he's like, maybe Satan sent you, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, or you got stuck in a storm and it you had to flee the storm and it tossed you onto the shore to find me. So he's like, okay, maybe it didn't come from God, maybe it came from Satan, maybe it came from a storm out in the ocean and it brought you here. I don't care. Um, Desolate yet all undaunted on this desert land enchanted. So like it sent you to this land, on this home by horror haunted, because like he feels haunted by his lost love. Tell me truly, I implore, is there a balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. So, balm in Gilead is a reference to the Bible. It was like a healing balm or like a medicine people used on wounds. So basically, this is like a metaphor. He's saying like, is there some healing, some respite, some comfort from like my woes and my sorrow? Quote the raven, nevermore. Nope, you're not going to forget about Lenore, and you're not going to feel better about her. So he's still mad. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil. So like I don't care if you're evil, if you're supposed to be a prophet from God, or like you're actually a devil or you're actually a bird. I don't care anymore. By that heaven that buns us above, meaning by the heaven that creates us, by the God we both adore, by the God we both worship. Tell this soul with sorrow laden. So like tell me, like my poor soul is just like burdened with so much sorrow. Tell me within the distant Aden, which is an Arabic word for the Garden of Eden, so like paradise. So tell me in the distant paradise, it shall clasp a Satan maiden whom the angels name Lenore. So he's like, tell me, I'm so upset. I'm so sad. Please tell me that in a distant paradise like heaven, that I'll be able to like hug Lenore and like embrace her again. So he says, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quote the raven, nevermore. So he's like, you're not going to forget about Lenore. You're not going to get over her. You're not going to feel better about her. And you're never going to see her again, even when you die. Like, so now he's super ticked off because he stayed up late trying to forget about Lenore. That's all he wants to do is forget about his lost love. And this bird is just, it feels like this bird is just hammering like into his soul, like you will not forget about Lenore. So he's really ticked off now. So he says, be that word or sign of parting, bird or fiend. I shrieked upstarting. He stood up and like started yelling at the bird. He says, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore, meaning like get back to the storm that you came from and the dark night that you came from. Leave no black plume as a token of the lie thy soul has spoken, meaning don't even leave a feather to remind me of the lies that you told me. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door. So he's like, get out of here. Like, get off my statue. Like, leave me in my loneliness and take your beak out of my heart and get out. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Like, Raven's like, no, not leaving. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting, still is sitting. So, like, he repeats this because he's like, he's still here. This bird is still here. He's really trying to emphasize, I can't get rid of this bird. He's staying here staring at me on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming. Like he looks like a demon just staring at me at my soul. And the lamplight over him streaming throws his shadow on the floor. So remember that lamplight that's throwing light through the window? It's casting the raven's shadow on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor. So, like, my soul is trapped in that shadow of the raven that's on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. Meaning, like, my soul will never be lifted. I'll never feel better. I'll never get over Lenore. I'll never like stop remembering her, stop like feeling sorrow over her. I will never get over my loss of Lenore. As much as he tried, he can't get over like her death. He can't get over that depression, that sorrow of his lost Lenore. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe.